Thank you so much for your willingness to offer a stewardship testimonial during our upcoming service.
I'm happy to do it.
Well, these testimonials really, they really help our community understand the importance of generosity in our lives and the reasons to support the church and what we can accomplish together. So to get started, how long have you been a member of the church and how did you come to be a member?
Well, to start with, when I was born in White Salmon, Washington, population 104, so small place, but believe it or not, they had a congregational church. And so it was such a small town that my next door neighbor, best friend, and I would walk to church together because they had the time with the children ahead of time instead of after. And, I think about it now, and I would never have let my kids walk someplace when they were 4 or 5 or 6. But it was like one big family. So anyway, that was my start. And I loved it. I was comfortable there. And then it kind of turned out that, we just weren't going to church anymore. And so we moved to Los Angeles. We moved to Northern California and Bernie. We moved to Forest Grove. And that's when I started second grade. And we just didn't even go to church. And I would have liked to, but I didn't make any big fuss over it. I was the oldest kid. So, but we had a new family move to town, and Reverend Crane had a daughter my age and in my class at school. And we both loved singing. And back in that day, you had a lot of singing, a lot of music in school, along with the other things. And I was kind of reluctant because I thought, oh, well, and she said, well, just come to the rehearsal, it's a lot of fun and all this. And so I talked my parents into it and went there for the rehearsal. And she immediately took me over where they had the things you wore during singing and said, look, this one's going to fit you. And so I was really hooked. So I've had a long time with being in congregational churches. Then there came the time when I got married to a Catholic. And so we were living in various places in California, and none of them had congregational churches, the ones that we were in. And it was so strange to think of a town with a lot of churches and not a congregational church. So when we moved back up to Oregon, I was, in hog heaven because I was back in congregational church land. So I got back on track, but things come up and it seems like it was always, not a smooth deal. And I loved the part where I was a Sunday school teacher in the congregational church and all this stuff, and we do Catholic church things at different times. But to make a long story short, we ended up back in California for a while, and then divorce occurred, and I came back up to Hillsborough as soon as my daughter was out of high school. And so I tried to go to church regularly, but the other things happened too. I had cancer and was out for a while, and then it was so hard to just get my work done that I had big lapses. So I'm not the best person in the world to talk to, but when I'm healthy and able, I love to be at the congregational church.
Thank you so much for sharing that. It sounds like you've had a lot of different experiences with a lot of different churches. And so can you share a little bit about where you see the love of our church right now changing lives?
It's just a warm and comfortable place. And it's, the church has changed a lot over time. It used to be a lot more structured in some ways, but I love the fact that it's more fluid and it's more active in communities in different ways.
And how has the love of our church changed your life?
Well, I'm retired now, and it's kind of like coming out of a shell and, being part of a real nice church community again. So I'd say that's the big change.
Sounds like it's become a really important community and family for you.
Yeah. Since I'm, on my own with the dog.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. how have you been called to love through the church?
During the summer, we were trying to stay connected with people, who might like a little cheering up, or, you didn't really know what the status was. It went on so long with the pandemic and everything. So I had a little list of people that I was calling, and it was so refreshing. And of course, right away, that there's some people on that list that they don't mind chatting for a while, but they really don't want you to call back like all the time, because they have a family, they have things going on, and they're all settled and they weren't ninny. But then I hit the people like me that were the only ones at home, or, home with a dog like or home with a cat or whatever. And they really enjoyed, having that phone call again. But it was really, really a joy for me, because, when you weren't getting out of the house, and you were, connecting with people other ways, but it was refreshing to have like a new person to talk with. And one time we were talking, I was calling people throughout the day, and 3 gals in a row, they started saying that it was like we should have a sisters club or something, because we had same sorts of life experiences at different points of time. And we just had to laugh about it, because it was so silly that, out of the blue, I would get the 4 people in alphabetical order that would be in the same situation. So, that was great fun too. And I think it made us all feel better. So I'm just going to throw that out there, because maybe it will be helpful some other point in time.
I'm sure it was a great way to, for that group to just stay connected over the summer. I'm sure it was wonderful.
Yeah, it was great.
I'm curious, because COVID has changed so much about the church in the last year, or year and a half even. What has been one thing that's really helped you stay connected to your faith and this community just over the last year or so?
Well, having the services online has been really, really great. And, I have some reoccurring illnesses from time to time. And I think to myself, gee, if there was a way they could continue that, even when we're, have church open and all that, I'm sure there'd be people that would just be real eager to have that happen. We'll all be at church when we can, but if we have something flare up, as I do, that then they will be able to feel like they're with the church, even though, they're not feeling so good and all that. In fact, it's a great cheerer-upper, to tell you the truth. And it's just wonderful when they have the children time, because then it's really, really fun. I just love it.
Absolutely. It's been a fun way to stay connected. Well, thank you so much again for taking the time to share, for joining and pledging to our congregation this year. With your support, our church definitely shares God's love.